Good evening, everybody. Um, this is the first show, the first live stream broadcast for the weekly schedule refined, and anyone that's already come to watch already knows who I am, David Arthur. So I guess I wanted to start off tonight with like a little testimony for anybody that doesn't um, know me. I started off on a really rough road. Um, I look at the scripture where it says that God knew us. He knew the plans that He had for us, and sometimes I wonder if maybe the enemy knew the plans that God had for us as well, because I was under attack before I was even born. My father committed suicide just before I was born, and as a young child, I was molested a few different times by a few different people, and I began to desire sexual attention. Call it an addiction at such a young age. 7, 8 years old, I was hiding out, cutting school, and hiding out at bus stops and hanging out in public bathrooms and waiting for some dirty old man to come along and molest me. I associated that negative attention with male affirmation, and it only got worse. When I say molested, take note that I mean recruited. I was what the LGBTP for pedophile movement calls recruited. I was recruited in as a young child, and as the cycle goes, the recruited became a recruiter at some point in time, and I started luring 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys into that dark movement. The only difference was with me is by the age of 14, I was a runaway. I was living on the streets. I was prostituting my body at the age of 14. Um, I was doing drugs. I was taking female hormones. I was dressing like a girl. But at the age of 14, I was also HIV positive. And so from the age of 14 on, I was purposely and intentionally infecting people with HIV, from boys to men. And a lot of the men that would pick me up on the streets, they had wives and girlfriends and children and families at home waiting for them. And the whole time I would think that I'm going to get them too. I'm going to get the girlfriend. I'm going to get the wife at the same time. I'm going to get her. And that was my mindset when I was 14, and I knew that I had HIV. I went to my peers, and my peers happened to be a bunch of older transgenders, older drag queens. And when I told them, they said, "So we're HIV positive too, and who cares? The one that gave it to you didn't care, so don't you care? And a matter of fact, get as many as you can." And so that was my mindset, and that's what I tried to do, and that's what I started trying to do, and that's what I was doing. And so that just led to a life of crime, boosting, shoplifting, drugs, selling drugs, doing drugs, clubbing, partying all the time, sexual addictions, whether it was for free or for a fee, it didn't matter to me as long as I was engaging in physical activity with somebody, anybody. Didn't even matter who it was at that point. But I continued on in recruiting young men and men. And we always say God is not a respecter of persons, and the enemy don't care who he sucks into his darkness and his trap either, because the men that would come to see me were from their teens up to 70, 80 years old, and some of them were black, they were white, they were Asian, they were Spanish. It didn't matter because all men had a lust of their flesh, and they wanted to satisfy it, and I happened to be one of the tools that they were able to use. But I don't want to really dredge on that as much as I want to say why I do what I do. Why I do what I do is because of this, of a boy, of a company cover girl, how they now have a teenage boy as their face for their makeup company, and how National Geographic last year put a little boy up on the cover of their magazine, a little boy dressed like a little girl, positioned very provocatively and sexually, and because now in Oklahoma, mother and daughter are married. You know, these are the things that are going on right now, and a lot of people don't have a clue. A lot of people do not have a clue of what's going on right now. They don't have a clue that that your children or your grandchildren right now, they can go to elementary school, and if your little boy says to his teacher, "Hey, I wore mommy's shoes last night," that teacher can take your son and tell your son that he's meant to be a girl, that he's transgender, or he's gender fluid, or whatever new word she wants to use with him. But then the school can actually seek psychiatric or mental health counseling for your child without your consent. They can seek this counseling, and your child can be put on puberty blockers and hormone pills. And if you say that they can't, then the state can step in and remove the child from your home because they call it child abuse. Because children can't go to the club, they can't go buy a six pack, they can't sit on the corner and smoke weed. They have a curfew, but they can choose if they want to be a boy or a girl. And they're not even really choosing. They're being taught and told, because there's a generation right now of people that have no idea that there's freedom from the bondage that they're in, because they don't even know that they're in bondage, because they've been taught and they've been told that this is who they are, that they're born this way, they're created to be this way. They have these fake buildings that are calling themselves gay churches, these buildings with these demons. Demons standing before their congregations, telling their congregations that they are born and created homosexual.
Amen.
These,
Amen, brother.
these are the ones that I want to reach. These are the ones that I want to get to, because these are the ones that have no idea. They just think life is miserable. Life is just miserable. Life is not miserable. Bondage is miserable. Bondage is miserable. Life is not miserable. Life, when you receive life, when you receive Jesus Christ, there's no more misery. There's no more misery. You might have rough times. You might even have some aggravation and annoyance, but there's no more misery. The misery ends. So bondage is misery, and that's that. Those are the ones that I want to know, that you're not going to be able to stand before the Lord and say, well, my pastor misled me, or well, I wasn't taught that. That's going to be your problem. There's no excuse. You need to pick up the word. You need to seek him and seek his face and seek life, because there's so much more for you. Mm. I wasn't planning on really going there, but
No, we got to go
I
there sometimes. That's the whole point of these things.
we do, we really do, because every single time I see some little boy running down the street or walking through the mall with his mommy, and he's got pink hair and these skinny jeans, they're like leggings, and he's prancing, and then my heart is just breaking for him. And now I see this new kid that's out there with this. They're trying to make him a drag queen TV star, and
This is the 8-year-old, right? The 8-year-old
yeah,
kid.
he's 8 years old. The
Yeah.
parents are pimping him out. The parents are pimping him out. They're allowing their little boy to be sexualized, to be demonized, to be just traumatized. They're putting him on puberty blockers. They're putting him on hormones. They're doing everything to just screw him up totally for the rest of his life. Because there's a 12-year-old boy right now that when he was 8 or 9 years old, the state stepped in. They made his parents put him on puberty blockers and hormones because the counselor said that he was transgender. They convinced him he was transgender, and now he's 12 or 13, and he doesn't want to be transgender anymore. And yeah, and now he has to have his breasts removed.
Yeah,
you know, and his whole body is messed up. Now he'll never be able to have children because his body is screwed up. Although, you know what, I shouldn't say never, because God is God is able to do anything. And so God could definitely heal his body and make him whole again, just like he made women that couldn't bear children, because God can do it.
Right.
But just think about the trauma that this boy just went through in the last 3 or 4 years. Kids are the cruelest. They're the cruelest. Kids are just cruel. They're cruel to each other. They're cruel to, they don't care because they don't have no they don't have that hold back of what, and what they say out of their mouth. They say anything. They don't care.
Right.
And they're cruel. I can just think of what this boy went through. And it just breaks my heart because he didn't even want to be transgender. They convinced him that he was transgender.
Well,
and that's what they're doing.
They taught him to believe in actions utterly divorced from consequences.
Exactly.
And now he's gonna
exactly. And that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh man. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yes, it
I mean, Canada's worse. Because Canada right now, they've actually given the children have more rights than the parents have in Canada. I mean,
boy. Yeah. Well, you know what it is, David? I made a hashtag, and the hashtag is entertainment is the swamp. I've come to a realization that the entire everything around you, all the stuff around you is all programmed to screw you, every bit of it. So TV programming, sports, award shows, anything you see on the TV screen, it's all there. It's all there as a psyop. Every bit of it.
You know what, Vinny? I haven't watched TV in, over 2 years now. And every now and then I'll get a good Christian movie. Somebody will tell me, here, watch this, and I'll watch it. But TV, I can't do it. Now, somebody else in my home watches TV.
You can see all the evil. You can see all the evil.
I can hear it. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it. Somebody else in my house, they watch TV. And I can just feel the darkness. I can just feel that negative energy. And I can't even be in the room. I have to go. They don't call it programming for nothing, right?
Exactly. I was lucky to long ago get a book called Subliminal Suggestion, and in that book, I was able to find out in every newspaper article, every image ever put out in a newspaper, there's a touch of either sex, death, or money embedded in every bit and every image put on a newspaper, and probably on every TV screen.
Yep, every single Disney cartoon that has come out has sexual subliminal messages, and they wonder why, since Disney, the children, the youth have gotten more and more and more sexualized and sexual, and it's because of these messages that they're saying. They see them, they watch a cartoon and they're getting sexual subliminal messages.
Yeah, and most of them don't know what to do with it.
No, because you know what? That's the whole, and I'm glad we got into that, because that's the whole point of this movement. And the reason, a lot of people say, well, why you're not very loving when you say the LGBTP movement. But guess what? That's about as loving as I can get, because I want everybody to know that the LGBT movement is the pedophile movement, that they are one and the same, and that yes, there are many people that are trapped in that bondage right now that haven't participated in pedophilia, but there are more that have. There are more that have, because you're recruited in, and the recruited becomes a recruiter. That's the way it works. And for those who don't, yes.
David, how soon do you think Pizzagate and the effect of all this disclosure is going to really be publicized? How soon are we?
I can't really hear you, Mark. You're like really garbled.
No, there's something in his background. I think he's going to clear it up now.
Okay. I heard.
Yeah, I was asking, how soon do you think Pizzagate and the disclosures are actually going to materialize in the public knowledge?
You know, a lot of people think that it's not even real. A lot of people think it's a hoax. They think that it doesn't exist. They think that it's over exaggerated. They think that it was all a ploy. And now you have Target. They have these new Pizzagate shirts that they're selling, and they say "In Pizza I Trust," and they're using the pyramid from the dollar bill, and where it usually says "In God I Trust," they're saying "In Pizza I Trust." And so, and this 4chan thing, yeah, it is. And this 4chan thing, they're really like dumbing down a lot of things. And I don't know much about 4chan, but somebody said to me, I was talking about clover gender. Clover gender is where an adult claims to be a child trapped in an adult's body. And so and we see it all the time. We see this 50-year-old man who has he divorced his wife and left his family to become a 6-year-old girl.
With pigtails.
Yeah, we see this all the time. But this man actually messaged me yesterday and said, "You do know that clover gender is a hoax, right?" I'm like, why would you even say that? Because it's not a hoax. Just because somebody posted on 4chan that it was a hoax, now it's a hoax.
See,
I know
people.
Exactly.
People
I know from experience.
Said I have to believe it.
Yeah. If it's been on the internet, it's true. It's on the internet.
Oh boy. Nothing gets done. These people just
and that's what it's all about. And that's everything that it comes down to, is that they're going to put out as much as they can that a lot of these things don't exist, that a lot of these things are just hoaxes, or they're just people, just angry people. I'm an angry person, according to some people. I don't know. I mean, actually, when I lived in that world, when I was homosexual and when I was transgender, I probably would have stabbed somebody just to prove to them how happy I was. But now, I've had bottles of urine thrown on me, and I just walk away. I actually have picked the bottles up and put them in the trash can, and then calmly went into the restaurant, into the bathroom, washed up, came out, and went back to evangelizing on the street.
Wow.
So I don't know how angry I am, but it's. I guess what it comes down to is the fact that they don't want these secrets revealed. They don't want a lot of stuff revealed, and that's gonna really bring me right into the Homosexual Manifesto. If I figure this out, there it goes.
Yeah, well, you go ahead. Listen. You're absolutely right about. First of all, it's misdirection. Remember my 2 words. I'm going to actually put these up on my wall someplace. Semantics and misdirection. It's a game. It's all a game. They know that they have no moral standing in the game, and they have no logic in the game. They have no facts in the game. All they have is semantics and misdirection. That's all they got. And once we convince them that we know, they realize that the jig is up and they can't fool us anymore.
Yeah, they don't want these things revealed. They don't want these things put out there. They do not want people to know that they are preying on your children and your grandchildren in their schools. Anywhere where youth gather, they're there. They're preying on them. They're teaching your children.
Well,
They're
they got the whole
they're
thing set up. It's great. They got Planned
they're your
Parenthood to
children's gym
do the
teachers.
sacrifices. Then they
Yeah,
got child
they're, they yeah,
TPS to steal the children. You know?
they're in the locker rooms with your kids.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how many people? And now you got men that want to go into the women's locker room and take showers and use the restroom with your daughters and your wives. And I get, everybody's okay with that. Everybody's all right with that because
Well,
I see a whole lot more people out there standing up for it than I see standing right around them against it. And that's where I've been kind of looking at lately. It's like the reason that they even have the foot in that they have is because they are loud. They're loud and they're obnoxious,
right. The
and they
squeaky
don't
wheels in the
care.
degree. Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So we got to be squeaky
but,
wheels for the decided good. That's what we have to do.
Yeah. So I want to get into this Homosexual Manifesto. It was written in 1987 by Michael Swift, and he was one of a few very big gay activists. But this is their agenda, and this was published, and this was spread all over. And this, if this isn't an in your face, I don't know what is. But it starts out: "We shall sodomize your sons, emblems of your feeble masculinity, of your shallow dreams and vulgar lies. We will seduce them in your schools." Now remember, this was 1987. This is an agenda. It's already been completed. In your
Right.
dormitories, in your gymnasiums, in your locker rooms, in your sports arenas, in your seminaries, your youth groups, movie theater, bathrooms. The bathrooms, public bathrooms were the first place I realized that where I could go at 7 and 8 years old to find this sexual gratification, this touch. Those were the first places I knew I could go find it.
Yeah.
And in your army bunkhouses, in your truck stops, the rest stops, every rest stop along the highway, it's full of detestable sexual acts going on. I used to drive up and down 95 just to go all the way down the south, hit every rest stop, and then come back on the north, hitting every rest stop on that side. And I would engage in sexual activity with them, with everybody I could, in almost every single bathroom. And some of them, and
And some of them
a
multiple
big
times, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? A big warning to women is that I watched quite a few of them after they were done engaging in activity with me. They walked out, got in their car, kissed their wife,
Their wives. Yes, I
and
was going to say
drove
this.
away.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
that's right.
And
That's it.
this is what's going
Right.
on in these rest stops, in your
The
all
damn
male
book
clubs,
club.
in your houses of Congress. Of course, we know they're in Congress. Wherever
Oh, yeah.
men are with men together, your sons shall become minions and do our bidding. They will be recast in our image, and they will come to crave and adore us. See, we were cast in God's image, but this movement, and I know that this movement has taken on the abortion movement, the feminist movement, so many different movements. And they've done this to be just for the numbers. They've done this to create bigger numbers. But this is the biggest, darkest, most evil movement this planet has ever seen. It's the LGBTP for pedophile movement.
Right.
It is the darkest movement this planet has ever seen. And if we think it's bad now, we haven't seen anything yet. Anything.
No, it hasn't even gotten close. I know.
Yeah, it goes on to talk about women and how you're no longer satisfied with men, so that's all right because they make you unhappy. We, connoisseurs of the masculine face, the masculine physique, shall take your men from you then. We will amuse them. We will instruct them. We will embrace them when they weep. Women, you say you wish to live with each other instead of men, then go and be with each other. We shall give your men pleasures they have never known, because we are foremost men too, and only one man knows how to truly please another man. And I have to tell you something. When I was trapped in that world, I used that line on so many unsuspecting, weak, weary men and boys, just to lure and seduce them into that darkness, and it worked.
And it works, right? I was gonna say,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
it works, because especially as teenagers, they're not thinking with a brain.
No, they're confused. They're confused in the first place. And anyone who sounds like they have the answer, they're going to believe.
Exactly. And anybody, any young person, child, teenager, whatever, that is presented, that sees homosexuality, it is automatically in their mind, it becomes pornographic. And so it completely distorts and confuses their growing and their developing minds. But this manifesto goes on to say all laws banning homosexual activity will be revoked. Hello. Instead, legislation shall be passed which engenders love between men. All homosexuals must stand together as brothers. We must be united artistically, blah, blah, blah. We will triumph only when we present a common face to the vicious heterosexual enemy. And I have to make something really clear here. There is only one sexual orientation. Only one. There's only one sexual orientation. There is no, homosexuality is not a sexual orientation. Homosexuality is sin. Plain and simple, it's sin. It is not, how can I even put it? The flip side of homosexuality is not heterosexuality. The flip side of homosexuality is redeemed, is freed, is sanctified, is justified, is freed from the bondage of sin. There is no such thing as an orientation of heterosexuality, of homosexuality. There's only one orientation, and it's defined from the very beginning of creation as one male and one female, and that is it. And I have to make that clear, because there's so many people that keep calling this a lifestyle and an orientation. And it's not a lifestyle; it's a death style,
Yeah.
and it's not an orientation; it's sin.
Exactly. Because you can't.
So where does the organized homosexual agenda manifesto cross with complete industries like the priesthood, Hollywood? How does, how have they taken this agenda and somehow created a hidden agenda within entire priesthoods, for instance, like the Roman Catholic Church, and in Hollywood? How can they infiltrate an industry like entertainment, have so many boys catering to that industry, and it be unknown, and no one is going to? I mean, here you are speaking out, but we've lived our whole life and not heard this, Vinny.
Yeah.
I mean, I have. You kind of thought it existed, but my goodness, it's just all coming out.
Well,
and you know what, Mark?
Hollywood has always existed. That's how it began.
Yeah, and that was part of their plan. That was part of their plan. And what I want to say is that, because I'm going to cover that after I get through this manifesto, I'm going to show you an outline of their platform and what they said they had to do and how they had to infiltrate. And you can see from 1987, when the other article was written, that this is exactly what they've done, and this is what's going on now. But I wanted to say that because somebody else had said to me, well, what about bisexuals? Look, there's no such thing as bisexuality. It does not exist. If a man lays with another man, it doesn't matter if one of them men thinks they shoulda, coulda, woulda, wanna be, can pay to be the opposite sex. They're still a man.
Right.
And they are guilty of the sin of homosexuality. If a man lays with a woman outside of wedlock, then he's guilty of the sin of fornication and in most cases adultery. But there is no such thing as bisexuality. So if we change the way we talk and the way we think, then we can start other people changing the way they talk and the way they think.
Right.
But I'm going to jump back into this manifesto because when I tell you it, the next line just, it was
you're
me.
Gonna send us you're gonna send us an email, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, excellent.
This next line was me. If you dare to cry faggot, fairy, queer at us, we will stab you in your cowardly hearts and defile your body, your dead, puny bodies. Now, this is their agenda, and this was published. We shall write poems of love between men. We'll stage plays in which man openly caresses man. We'll make films about the love between heroic men, which will replace the cheap, superficial, sentimental, insipid, juvenile, heterosexual infatuations presently dominating your cinema screens. We shall sculpt statues of beautiful young men, of bold athletes, which will be placed in your parks, your squares, your plazas. The museums of the world will be filled only with paintings of graceful, naked lads. Our writers and artists will make love between men fashionable and de rigueur, and we will succeed because we are adept at setting styles. We will eliminate heterosexual liaisons through usage of the devices of wit and ridicule, devices which we are skilled in employing. We will unmask, and let me go back to that real quick where it says the devices of wit and ridicule, devices which we are skilled in employing. In New York City, when I lived in New York City, we used to all go down to the pier late at night, and we would have what I guess what some of us would call a round table. We would sit around and we would skillfully and witfully try to ridicule each other. And the one who did the best, they would be, they would get the props and it would be all good. And but this is something that is practiced. It's practiced 24 hours a day. I mean, like me, I would wake up in the morning, I was a man, and I looked like a woman, and I dressed like a woman, and I would go out and fool people. And even if they thought I was a woman, I would tell them I was a man because I wanted to see what they had to say about it. Because I knew they were attracted to me, and so I wanted to really bust their bubble and let them know that you're attracted to a man. So now what? I mean, that was, that was my frame of mind. That's their frame of mind. Yeah. So we will unmask. Go ahead, Mark.
He's still muted. Hey, Mark. There we go.
I'm not chatting. I'm good. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So we will unmask the powerful homosexuals who masquerade as heterosexuals, like I was just saying, the ones that we claim. If you're against homosexuality, then you must be gay. You will be shocked and frightened when you find that your presidents and their sons, your industrialists, your senators, mayors, generals, athletes, film stars, television personalities, civic leaders, priests are not safe, familiar heterosexual figures you assume them to be. We are everywhere. We have infiltrated your ranks. We be careful when you speak of homosexuals because we are always among you. We may be sitting across the desk from you. We may be sleeping in the same bed with you. Now, talk about trying to get somebody to not trust somebody. But if a woman reads this, what's she going to think? Wow, what if my husband's homosexual? I'm sleeping in the bed with him. I mean, and this is the reason these things are said and put out there. It's all like mind play. It's all a game. Exactly. There will be no compromises. We are not middle class weaklings. Highly intelligent. We are the natural aristocrats of the human race. And steely-minded aristocrats never settle for less. And I have to say that homosexuals, the ones that actually, well, I don't know what Bible they read, but the ones who call themselves gay Christians, they actually believe that they are God's warriors, that they are the natural warriors of God because they are not going to be bogged down with children. And that's what they believe. They believe that they're eunuchs. They believe that they're warriors. They believe all of these false doctrines, all of these horrible things that just spit right in God's face, everything that they believe. Those who oppose us will be exiled. We shall raise vast private armies, as Mishima did, to defeat you. We shall conquer the world because warriors inspired by and banded together by homosexual love and honor are invincible, as were the ancient Greek soldiers. The family unit, now, and this is what's under attack completely, is the family unit, spawning ground of lies, betrayals, mediocrity, hypocrisy, and violence will be abolished. The family unit will be abolished. The family unit, which only dampens imagination and curbs free will, must be eliminated. Perfect boys will be conceived and grown in genetic laboratories. They will be bonded together in communal settings under the control and instruction of homosexual savants. All churches who condemn us will be closed. Our only gods are handsome young men. We adhere to a cult of beauty, moral, and aesthetic. All that is ugly and vulgar and banal will be annihilated. Since we are alienated from middle-class heterosexual conventions, we are free to live our lives according to the dictates of the pure imagination. For us, too much is not enough. The exquisite society to emerge will be governed by an elite comprised of gay poets. One of the major requirements, now this is big because this is what's going on. One of the major requirements for a position of power in the new society of homoeroticism will be indulgence in the Greek passion. Any man contaminated with heterosexual lust will be automatically barred from a position of influence. All males who insist on remaining stupidly heterosexual will be tried in homosexual courts of justice and will become invisible men. Now, the next two paragraphs are just a whole lot of more of the garbage that I was been reading. It ends with tremble, hetero swine, when we appear before you without our masks. But I want to go to will become invisible men. It is that line right there that hit me so hard a few months ago after I had read this numerous times over the last 8 years, but it was a few months ago that it hit me so hard. And I said,
you put that together with the mark of the beast. That's what they mean by invisible men. That's
exactly what they're doing. They are erasing the Christian man. They're erasing manhood completely. If we go out into public, what do we see? A bunch of feminized, emasculated boys, pretty boys, running around with skin tight pants on, trying to be unmen. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Trying to
women,
yeah, and it's. I said to somebody, I said, there's something wrong with this, and she said, well, no, people have always been, they've always said they were pretty boys. I said, no, but they've said it for so many years that they have now actually become pretty boys. And this is exactly what this movement has wanted. When they put children on, when they put these little boys on puberty blockers and hormones, what does it do to them? It stops them from going through puberty. It keeps them smooth. It keeps them soft, and it keeps them feminine. Now, if you go look up pedophile and see what the number one characteristic or attraction of a pedophile is, and it is a smooth, soft, pretty boy. Okay, so if that doesn't connect the dots, I don't know what else can. I mean, I just don't. I don't even understand how people don't see it. It's so plain.
Connected dots.
You're breaking up, Vinny.
Okay, because they refuse. Sorry, so they refuse to connect well, we have to paint the picture then.
Yeah, and that seems to be the problem lately, is painting the picture. It's painting the picture is not okay. It's not working for some people because they're colorblind, put it like that, and they're choosing to be colorblind. But real quick, I just want to go over the 1972 gay rights platform. It's huge. I'll send it to anybody that wants it. But the 7 and 8, these were their demands on federal and state levels. Their demands: repeal of all laws governing the age of sexual consent, repeal of all legislative provisions that restrict the sex or number of persons entering into a marriage unit, and the extension of legal benefits to all persons who cohabit regardless of sex or numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, wink, wink.
Yeah. Somebody's mic is screaming.
Yeah, hold on. He's trying to. Go ahead.
Hold on.
That's just kind of feedback. He'll be back in a second.
Okay, it was Mark's.
Yeah, it's
right.
No, it's all a joke. It's all a joke.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Am
I
I
think
still
we can turn
present?
the joke on them because they want to make us invisible men, but they're the ones who are going to be invisible soon.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope. I mean, I have great faith, Vinny. I do, and I know that God is able and He is capable, and there is nothing that He can't do.
Amen.
But things are going to get a whole lot worse before they get better.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy at all.
No, it's not. It's really not. So I think the part that I really wanted was down here. The overhauling of straight America. This is a must-read article originally published in Guide magazine in 1987. It's the blueprint for the now global homosexual propaganda campaign to replace marriage-based society with a culture of sexual anarchy. A 1999 book based on this outline, titled After the Ball, has become the Bible of homosexual propagandists. However, only this article states the gay goals and tactics with such alarming frankness. Following are relevant excerpts from the article. The complete article is readily available on the internet. And again, it's called The Overhauling of Straight America by Marshall Kirk and Erastus Pill. The first order of business is desensitization of the American public concerning gays and gay rights. That's already happened. To desensitize the public is to help it view homosexuality with indifference instead of with keen emotion. Ideally, we would have straights register differences in sexual preference the way they register different tastes for ice cream or sports games. She likes strawberry and I like vanilla. He follows baseball and I follow football. No big deal. Yeah. So at least in the beginning, we are seeking public. This is what they're saying to each other now. This is their memo.
Right.
In the beginning, we are seeking public desensitization and nothing more. We do not need and cannot expect a full appreciation or understanding of homosexuality from the average American. You can forget about trying to persuade the masses that homosexuality is a good thing. But if only you can get them to think that it is just another thing with a shrug of their shoulders, then your battle for legal and social rights is virtually won. And to get to shoulder shrug stage, gays as a class must cease to appear mysterious, alien, loathsome, and contrary. A large-scale media campaign will be required in order to change the image of gays in America. And any campaign to accomplish this turnaround should do these 6 things. 1, talk about gays and gayness as loudly and as often as possible.
Right.
We've already saw this.
Yeah.
We've already saw that. 2, portray gays as victims, not as aggressive challengers.
Imagine that, huh? Nice trick.
Yeah, exactly. And see, and right here it says a media campaign to promote the gay victim image should make use of symbols which reduce the mainstream's sense of threat, which lower its guard, which enhance the plausibility of victimization. It also goes without saying that groups on the farthest margin of acceptability, such as NAMBLA, which is like the National Association for Man-Boy Love Association, must play no part at all in such a campaign, because suspected child molesters will never look like victims. So they're willing to push that part of their movement aside just for this purpose. Just for this purpose. For this purpose, let's say that we're not child molesters. But once we have the access, then it doesn't matter. Everyone will know.
Yum time. That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Straight viewers must be able to identify with gays as victims. Mr. and Mrs. Public must be given no extra excuses to say they are not like us. In any campaign to win over the public, gays must be cast as victims in need of protection, so that straights will be inclined by reflex to assume the role of protector. Number 3, give protectors a just cause. A media campaign that casts gays as society's victims and encourage straights to be their protectors must make it easier for those to respond, to assert and explain their new protectiveness. Few straight women and even fewer straight men will want to defend homosexuality boldly as such. Most would rather attach their awakened protective impulse to some principle of justice or law, to some general desire for consistent and fair treatment in society. And that's where the majority of people have taken it to. When I was down at the town hall last year trying to collect signatures for a referendum, there was a man, and he was not guilty of homosexuality. He was just a man. And when he heard what I was doing, he said, "Oh yeah, like you don't have nothing better to do than just to pick on gays now, right? It's really sad, you know. We have to take a stand and say that, you know what, it's okay for people to do what they want to do as long as they don't bother us with it." You know, I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?"
Right.
But and then at the same time, his girlfriend said, "Well, it's not a choice." I said, "Oh, it's a choice. So how would you know?" Because I chose it for over 30 years, and now I choose not to. And that's when they left, because they didn't want to talk no more. But
no, because
number 4.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm good.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say something.
No, I tell you what, I just feel like that this information's been out there for all these years. And even if we put it in front of people, right? Why don't people react to it? Why is it easier to put your head in the sand? And how do we change that? It's like this stuff is so revealing.
Mark, I got a way of doing that. We have to embarrass them into realizing it. Here, I'll give you an example of that. What if I were able to get somebody to do the JFK assassination in a clown car? You realize just how absurd that would be?
Right.
But the absurdity would wake people up, and they would say, "Yeah, how can a shot from behind do what they said it did?" And then people realize, no, of course that shot never came from behind that killed him. The shot that killed him came from a drain, or whatever. I mean, but the whole absurdity of the whole Oswald thing, we have to make it clear. The absurdity is what people pay attention to.
And that's true, because you know what? I've spoken to some teachers that the teacher has just broke down right in front of me in tears, shaking, sobbing, uncontrollable tears, because she saw this going on in her school, but she never really admitted that that's what was going on. And as I was saying different things to her, she's breaking down, because she knows, wow, this is what's really going on. and what am I supposed to do about it now?
Right.
You know, because unless they see it right in front of their face,
it's not really
they
happening.
don't care. Yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. If I don't have to see it and I don't have to do it, then it doesn't really exist. But number 4 is make gays.
We have to get it to relate to some personal level. That's how we the program.
Which is why I so often I say your children and your grandchildren, because I want people to really know that they're monsters, and they're preying on your children, they're preying on your grandchildren, and you're allowing them to. And I'm not even talking about pedophilia here. I'm talking about this movement as a whole, as it's moving into all the school systems, as it's moving into everywhere where youth and children gather. They are preying on your children. They're convincing your children that they are not what God created them to be, that they are not. Yeah, that they are just there, you know, and they're sexualizing them, which is making it even worse, because now they're just there and they're sexual beings. And so why not just everybody do everybody? Look at California right now. Every single school age child from kindergarten up is going to be forced to watch homosexual sex in class, because the reason being they need to know. Are you kidding me? What do they need? They don't need to know about any sexual activity. But this is being forced upon them, and parents cannot opt their children out. They cannot opt their children out because it's now law. And so the only way is to remove the child from the school and to homeschool your child. But some states like California and Colorado have made homeschooling so difficult.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That it would be easier for the family to pick up and move.
Right. Well,
this really is upsetting, you know, and it's like someone needs an ass whooping. That's all I can think about. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Oh, man. I'm just telling you, this stuff is so upsetting.
You know, there's a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of what's going on, and there's a whole lot of people that really need to be put out there, and the public needs to see it. You know,
right?
If we take it all the way back to just this article alone that I'm reading from 1987, they've accomplished everything in it. They've done it, and now people are saying, "Huh? How about that?" They said it. Oh, you know how many people reach out to me almost on a weekly basis and say, wow, you know what? I know I said 2 years ago that you were crazy, but now I'm really seeing this going on, and I need to know more. Well, guess what? I don't want to tell you more now. Now it's too late. Right, because now it's too late. They're already there. They're in the schools. They're already there. So now the only thing you can do is pull your kid out. Pull your kid out. That's the only thing we can do.
At least take your kid out and don't make them part of the damn problem anymore. How about that?
Exactly. I mean, these are our children and grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, our little brothers and sisters, and we are allowing them to be preyed upon. We're allowing them to be victimized. But number 4 of the way to desensitize and infiltrate is to make gays look good. In order to make a gay victim sympathetic to straights, you have to portray him as every man. But an additional theme of the campaign should be more aggressive and upbeat. To offset the increasingly bad press that these times have brought to homosexual men and women, the campaign should paint gays as superior pillars of society. Yes, we know. This trick is so old it creaks.
Yeah.
Number 5, make the victimizers look bad. And so, and that already has been done, because every time somebody stands up and says this is wrong, they're homophobic, they're bigoted,
hate homosexuals. Yeah,
yeah,
crap.
You know, or they're just closet homosexuals, and they just, you know.
Hey, David.
Yes, Mark.
Who started this trend? Who led Who led the development of this manifesto and this movement?
You know, it goes all the way back, Mark, to 1972. 1972, the gay rights platform came about on the federal and the state level. But when it did, now in 1971, the word homosexual was defined in the American Psychiatric Association book, the APA, as a mental disorder. But in 1972, there were so many homosexuals on the board of the APA
They
that
took it out.
Yeah, and it changed from it went from a mental disorder to a sexual orientation that year. But I'm going to send this all to you, and anybody else that wants it to just say something in the chat. And I do want to let everybody know that's watching on YouTube, I can't see the chat right now, and so that's why I'm not responding, because I noticed somebody texted me and said, "Why aren't you answering me in chat?" But I'm not
great.
there.
Jeez.
But I just want to say that in 2012, 2011, in the APA, American Psychiatric Association book, pedophile was defined as a mental disorder. In 2013, the definition changed with the legal wording to say that it is an adult-child relationship.
Huh.
And so if we look from 1972,
pedophilia. Yeah, okay.
Exactly, right. Because that's the whole that's the goal. Yeah. The goal, see, this whole LGBT and the feminists and the abortionists and all these movements, they are laying the foundation. All they're doing, the only thing that they're doing, it's not about anything that they're fighting for. They are laying the foundation for this movement, for the pedophile movement, because that is what they want. They want access to the children. They want to be able to indulge. The enemy knows. The enemy knows that he's lost the war. He knows. The enemy knows he's lost the war, but he's going to win every battle he can. And one of those battles is going to be depopulation. And if he can depopulate by screwing up children's insides because they are either being raped or molested or put on puberty blockers or hormones or on drugs or they're having sex with animals or whatever, he's going to do it. He is going to do it. The enemy is, he is not a fool. One thing he is not is a fool.
No.
The enemy knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to keep on doing it. And there's many
decades of experience of screwing people's heads up.
Exactly. You know, it's like people say, "Oh well, I'm not deceived." Look, if you knew you were being deceived, it wouldn't be called deception.
That's
okay?
Right.
So all we have to know is that this is what he's doing. This is what's happening. How can we stop it? How can we at least make it better? How can we protect the children? Because that's all I want to do. I want to protect the children. I'm tired of seeing all these little boys and these girls with these dark voids in their eyes and just looking lost and sitting on park benches just staring up into the sky like there's nothing. Like Mark, there's nothing there and nobody's home.
Mark, Dave,
I'm tired of it.
I can tell that fully 90% of Hollywood is involved in this whole rape fest. You know, I can tell.
You know, that's part of that whole. That whole article.
They're all empty, man. They're all empty.
So this is interesting, David. I can't imagine what it would be like from your perspective. What a conversation must be like for you and a young man that you can tell is subject to this. I just can't imagine how the emotion wouldn't just flow and how
you know what?
There's
since we got a minute left, I'm just going to share a quick story. Yeah. I was in North Carolina and I was speaking at a church, and a couple came up to me afterwards, and it was a man and a woman. They said, our son, he's 16. He identifies as homosexual. He's never been traumatized, never been molested. He is a great father. Him and his father have a great relationship. Was raised in a Christian home, but he identifies as homosexual. What say you? I said, well, there's something that happened to him. Somewhere happened to him. And they said, well, would you meet with him? I said, yeah, as long as you're present, blah, blah, blah. I met with him 20 minutes into our meeting. The boy admitted that he was molested by his uncle, who was a pastor, his father's brother.
Wow.
Wow. You know, and they didn't know.
And they had no clue. And it happened in their home because his brother, the kid's uncle, the father's brother, came and stayed with them for 3 months while his home was being remodeled. And for 3 months, he molested his nephew.
Wow.
And, you know, but hey, look, everybody, I'm gonna sign off of the show, and I just want to say thank you for watching. And every Saturday, 7 p.m., Lord willing. God bless you all. Peace.
Okay.